Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/PettyRevenge. In today's episode, my neighbor told me I couldn't put out my trash, so I put his on vacation hold. Throw me under the bus? Nah, I don't think so. Update, throw me under the bus? It worked. I got fired. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. My neighbor told me I couldn't put out my trash, so I put his on vacation hold. So I rented a house with my husband and two of our friends. It's a 5-bedroom house. Rent is outrageous in our area, $2,400 for a 1-bedroom apartment. So we found this house for $3,000, not a bad deal while we save up to buy a house. There are other houses in the neighborhood like this as well. Our next door neighbors, their house is a 5-bedroom house and they have 9 people living in their house, so it is chaos over there all the time. In our neighborhood we can choose the trash company, so it just so happens that we have the same trash company as the next door neighbors. Our trash company does like us to have the trash out by 7 a.m. We don't always get it out that earlier though, and that's where this problem started. Most of the time they don't pick up our trash until 11 a.m. so obviously, as long as the trash is out before trash pickup gets here, they can take our trash. The people next door have 3 trash cans, and they are overflowing every single week. They put their trash out the night before, but unfortunately our neighborhood has raccoons and foxes, so the trash is always getting into, and last time a raccoon got into their trash, it left a mess in our yard and they wouldn't pick it up. I was pretty pissed about it, but I just let it go, cleaned up their trash. I did go and put it back in their trash can and they just sat out front glaring at me while I did that. Here is where this incident started. A couple weeks ago, I didn't get our trash out until almost 9 a.m. All 4 of us was sick with COVID. I was on the mend and feeling a little bit better, but I slept in and forgot to put out the trash at 7 a.m. So I go to put the trash out and my neighbor starts yelling at me saying, "You were supposed to have your trash out by 7 a.m. You can't put your trash out now." I said, "Well, they haven't come and pick up the trash because your trash cans are full, so it's not a big deal." He said, "No, that's the rules. Your trash has to be out by 7 a.m. If it's not, you can't get your trash picked up this week." I said I understand that they want the trash out by 7 a.m. but they haven't come and picked it up yet, so it doesn't matter. So I went ahead and I just walked inside. I went back to bed, and a couple hours later I get up to see that our trash can were put to the side of the house and they were still full of trash. So that means that someone moved our trash can. Our other neighbor came up to me the next day and said that she saw him put our trash can back. She didn't know the situation, so she wasn't going to butt in and tell him to not do that. Our neighbors are also very proud about their last name. They literally have a flag in their front window with their last name, so I called the trash company and I said that I was Mrs. So-and-so and I needed to set up a vacation hold for our upcoming pickup. They said, "No problem, we won't pick up your trash next week." They legit only asked for the address, no other information. The next week I made sure that our trash was out at 6:45 a.m. Then I sat and I watched for the trash truck and I watched them come past the house. They drove past my neighbor's house, didn't pick up their trash, even though their trash was overflowing, picked up ours and the other few people who also have them and left. I know I'm an asshole for doing this, you don't need to tell me, I may have crossed the line. But he also crossed the line by touching our cans and moving them and setting foot on our property. Genius. I know others are saying they would have dumped their trash on the neighbor's yard, but honestly an all-out war isn't smart. But this, hard-to-trace, evil plotting was truly inspired. It might be hard to trace, but after calling the company to chew them out for not taking their bins and hearing about the vacation hold, it won't be hard to put 2 and 2 together. Why would a trash company not pick it up if the cans were out and they are running the route anyhow? What do they do? Stop at each house and look it up on a computer to see they are opting into trash collection this week? Are you kidding me? I would have dumped my full bins all over their yard as soon as I realized they'd moved the trash before pickup. Nice petty revenge. The neighbors are insane. Having trash out by 7 a.m. is not an unbreakable rule. It's simply what they say so that people who don't have their trash out that early and miss pickup don't have a leg to stand on when they call to complain. Whine, you didn't pick up my trash today, whine. Exactly. How dumb do you have to be to not realize that? What you did was awesome and completely fine and definitely didn't cross the line, winky face. This is awesome. My trash story. I was manager of a small apartment building, 9 units, and my tenants would come to me repeatedly complaining that their trash cans were being filled by someone else. Each tenant had their own trash can in a communal shed beside the alley at the rear of the building. After a bit of sleuthing, I discovered our neighbor across the alley was filling our trash cans with his stuff, leaves, branches, and even his own household garbage. He would put a little into all 9 of our trash cans, I suppose to avoid filling one completely. Anyways, once I found out what was going on, I waited until all 9 of our trash cans were full, and dumped each and every one of them into a neat pile in his garage. Problem solved. Prepare beef bouillon and freeze in ice cube trays. Fling a few cubes on his lawn every night. They will melt and soak into the grass. Your neighbor will have a beef-scented lawn, and every dog, raccoon, fox, coyote, opossum, and skunk in the neighborhood will think, there's food around here somewhere. Maybe I'll find it if I dig a bigger hole. In a few weeks, the lawn will be completely shredded. Throw me under the bus? Nah, I don't think so. I work for a medical equipment company, specifically in the contracting department. We handle paperwork for million-dollar instruments globally, and I handle half of the United States in my territory. It can be challenging, and if a customer fails to sign an agreement, it can cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars a day if something breaks. And if they fail to sign because of me, then that can come back to bite my company in the ass, because we might have to pay for the repair ourselves. This hasn't ever happened yet, just a potential consequence. I'll knock on wood now, so I'm fastidious about my work. Half an hour ago, I got an email from one of my account managers, we'll call him Hank. Subject line wasn't directly hostile, but it was marked important and listed a bigger account. Hank emailed me wanting to know why a contract hadn't gotten to the customer, basically asking, hey, this is way past due, and it's your fault, care to explain yourself? He CC'd his boss and my supervisors so they could all see my big mistake. I dug and looked, and he was right, the customer's contract expired 8 months ago. A little more digging and I found out he emailed me about this customer's equipment last September. So I reread the email chain. It was a conversation from half a year ago, after all. Luckily for me, I keep all my emails filed perfectly, account by account, and even color-coded in each folder based on info and subject. It's tedious, but it can definitely come in handy if I ever need to look back for any reason. Then I sent him a response. Hey Hank. These are the 2 equipment pieces you asked about back on September 10th, correct? The ones that were outside my scope? In the last email I'd seen from you about that, attached, you'd said you were putting together a contract for that equipment, because my team doesn't handle these types of contracts, which I confirmed for you in the attached email from October 22nd. If I've let something slip through the cracks here, don't hesitate to ask. Always happy to help. I then attached the email where I told him I wouldn't be handling this because it wasn't my job, and also attached the email where he acknowledged I was correct and said he would handle this himself. I kept both of our supervisors CC'd. After all, he'd been the one who added them. I basically told him, yeah, you did ask about that, and we determined it was in no way my job and definitely something you should handle, and you said you'd handled it 6 months ago. Did you not handle it like you said you would, in front of our bosses? And now Hank's boss can start his day by reading about how Hank promised a customer a contract half a year ago and then never followed through. I suspect that Hank will be meeting with his boss in a few hours to discuss this. It's gonna be a tough day for Hank. Anyone tries to throw me under the bus, I'm ready with a judo flip. I ain't going out like that. Love it, great job keeping those emails. After today, I'm considering doing a weekly backup, just to be double sure, lol.
Documenting everything is the real-life save game button. It was the always happy to help that did it for me. I'm so satisfied with the smarm. Awesome job. I work in IT and keep all emails.
It's a lot of data, but worth it when someone tries to avoid responsibility and blame me.
Kudos. I usually hate reply to all, but every now and then it comes in handy.
I kept both of our supervisors CC'd. After all, he'd been the one who added them.
That's one of the greatest joys in my life, good on you. Update, throw me under the bus? It worked. I got fired.
So, as the title states, I'm now working with a different company.
So what happened? Well, for that we need background on Mary.
Mary was an account manager a few years ago, ambitious, slimy, and willing to cheat. When she saw a woman near retirement making double what she made, she saw an opportunity. Sarah had a team of 3 under her, and she was old-fashioned and very particular.
It would have been easy for Sarah to rub people the wrong way. Sadly, she was an easy target.
Mary got some friends together and launched a character attack on Sarah, pointing out their slow meager growth and saying she could do that whole team's job blindfolded if given the chance.
The company listened. Sarah was pushed into early retirement and Mary was given Sarah's job. But they didn't give Mary a team.
Since Mary said she could do the whole team's job herself, turns out the company took her at her word. Company saw they could fire 4, promote 1, and cut costs.
Whoops. Now Mary can't promote the AM buddies she'd conspired with. Not yet anyway.
So she buckles down and does her best to stay afloat.
Mary flounders. After a rough year and a half, she's deep in drugs and booze, her numbers are terrible, and she's facing a firing squad because there's an employee in her department, a lower-rung contacting guy, who is outpacing her. That's right, if you haven't put it together, Mary was my current boss. And I sadly didn't know about Mary's rise to her position until after the hammer dropped, talking with her coworkers.
Mary was doing the job of my 4 previous managers and definitely struggling to keep her head above water, having way too much to do as Sarah's team's replacement. My entire team knew she'd be promoting people into Sarah's team's old roles eventually, and we all hoped for a spot. Since I was regularly hitting 200% quota, I was a shoo-in for one of those spots. Or was I? Sadly, it turns out that Mary's position was actually worse than any of us knew. After underperforming for too long, she was secretly facing termination. And turns out? They were looking to hire me in her spot when they brought me up for training, right after my vacation. Mary was panicked, facing losing her job, and she knew I kept receipts so she couldn't make up a story and write me off like she'd done to get where she was now. Then, the Hank problem happened. I emailed her my receipts, and instead Mary found an ally. She saw an opportunity to work with Hank, an AM who also wanted me gone now for his own job security, and together they devised a plan. While I was out for a week visiting family down south, they collect several account manager complaints that no one ever saw, just stuff she knew about AMs that didn't want to keep working with me. Hank and Mary worked together while I was out of the office and couldn't defend myself, pressured my weak-willed boss, and made their move. She said my emails were unprofessional, citing an email where I asked I was wondering if you'd had the chance to review the contract I'd sent over a few weeks ago, as being pushy, unprofessional, and accusatory. My boss crumpled like a house of cards. No warning. No write-up. No training to improve. No days without pay. No demotion. For a trumped-up email charge and some vague promises of whispers in the wind, and probably some money or favors to my boss caved and went from a slap on the wrist to launching the nuke. When I got back on Monday, they met me at the door, so to speak. We all worked from home, and let me know they had decided to let me go. No discussion, it was all decided and finalized. I was hired by another company same day, so I'm fine. making the same money, so the worst thing I'll lose out on is that 200% bonus payout every few months, which does suck. Be careful. Sometimes, when you avoid being thrown under a bus, they just get a bigger bus and try again. If your numbers are as good as you say, they will be hurting for certain when they realize one incompetent manager managed to fire her main lifeboat. She'll sink for sure. I kinda hope to hear an update on the loss of millions later. Man, I can only hope. Sounds like way too much drama and conspiring motives. It sucks now, but I guaranteed your mental health will thank you for it. You should sue for wrongful termination, see if you can get a settlement. Can't, sadly. Right to work state. They could fire me for wearing blue or just cause they feel like it. Make sure you keep one friend at the company. Meet them regular for lunch, shopping, whatever. Make sure they let you know when the company goes under. Because management that's shitty generally means things are going downhill and the company is on its last legs, and the upper echelons are just collecting the paycheck until the house of cards falls down. I'm looking forward to your nuclear revenge story where you ruin Mary and Hank's careers, their family lives, and drive the old company out of business. Ha! I don't have that kind of ambition, sadly. And their company is a megacorp, so there's no fighting it. I was a contractor, not a king. You were forced out of a toxic environment. Leadership was clearly incompetent. Not the type of place you want to work at for years anyway. This is a good thing. Yeah, I agree. It was rough, but I'm in a better spot in the long run. Wow. Sorry that happened to you and good job getting a job so quick. However, this ain't over. Hammer has yet to meet Sledgehammer. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.